Alright, we have a major change in the pattern. Let's get right into it here. We have a cold front stretching across the southern Rockies here. This is going to be the front that is going to eject out into the plains and cause a severe weather outbreak. And this is rather interesting. This is a end of the January thunderstorm outbreak. So, here in the northeast, let's take care of that. We have the warm air moving in at upper levels, starting to switch a lot of this over to rain. However, we do have some frozen precipitation extending up towards north of the Hudson Valley, heading on into the Adirondacks, the White Mountains, heading over into New England here, where temperatures are being held down into the teens. Here at the MeteoMark studios here just near Binghamton, New York today, we saw about 1/10 of an inch of icy glaze. We saw about 1/2 an inch of snow with an icy glaze. Sleet and freezing rain fell on top of that, and it turned a lot of the pavement surfaces into what seemed like an ice skating rink today. So that was rather interesting. Most of the schools in the area were closed today, and that was the scene across much of the Northeast today in Mid-Atlantic. Here the warm front stretches in. We're pushing warm air. We're already in the 40s and perhaps lower 50s pretty soon in southern Ohio, extending back towards Chicago here. This is going to be moving back as a warm front. Here out west, things are really getting interesting. We have snow levels lowering down to 3,000 feet in the Cascades here from Washington State down to Oregon here. This is mainly snow, and then of course below 3,000 feet, that's where we'll be seeing the rain. The big story is the snow, 12 to 24 inches in those higher elevations. So we have the system out here in the plains too. We have some light overrunning, freezing, frozen precipitation, and that's where we're getting some sleet pellets, snowflakes, and some ice mixing in here. Across Texas here, this is where all the warm air is going, and it's going to funnel north with this system. Let's take a look at the liquid precipitation amounts here. Liquid precipitation amounts we have here in the fuchsia color. This is where the severe weather is going to get going later on the day tomorrow. Thunderstorms extending down towards Texas and heading on up towards the mid-Mississippi River Valley and extending on up towards New England here. This is where we're going to get some heavier rain too later on in the week with a squall line that could move through, and I'll have more details on that soon. Here in the Pacific Northwest, that's where 1.5 to 2 inches of liquid precipitation will fall. So we're getting right into the severe weather outbreak here. Let's take a look. Let me stand off the screen here. This is day 1, which will be tomorrow. It'll be Tuesday. The main threat will be across the area from Arkansas, extending up towards western Kentucky, southern Illinois, and southern Missouri, extending down towards Louisiana and eastern Texas. And then heading on into the day on Wednesday, the focus shifts even further east. Thunderstorms could arrive in places like southern Pennsylvania, heading down towards Maryland, Virginia, the Carolinas, eastern Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, extending down towards the Florida Panhandle. This is where we could get into some rough weather. The squall line. Alright, heading on into Wednesday here, you see the thunderstorm threat. So that's what we're going to be looking at for the severe weather. So let's head right on into the cool down after this warm up, but we're going to take a look at temperatures here very quickly. You can see temperatures slowly push from west to east. We got the west coast here fairly temperate for this time of year, colder in the mountains with 50s and 60s along the coast, and the Pacific Northwest up towards Seattle, 30s and 40s. Extending towards the east here, this is where we got that warm air way out ahead of the system, but watch this. You see Wednesday, well up into the 60s and 70s in portions of the mid-Atlantic, and we crash that down as that cold front moves through the lower Great Lakes. So we're going to continue to watch that, and you look at some of this colder air, minus 50s for lows up in some of the Dakotas here, and highs only in the minus 20s to minus 30s. So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to have a very quick warm-up here. It's going to get very warm in the east, particularly east of the Mississippi, and then it's going to cool right back down across much of the east. And it probably won't be as cold as it was the last couple of weeks, but it could set us up for some possible winter storms here in February. Speaking of winter storms, here's the NAO index. It's trending kind of positive, but it's going to head towards neutral. And the AO index, the Arctic Oscillation, we're a positive, and we're going to be heading very negative, -4 possibly, by the second week of February. So that's an index we look at for possible storminess. And if we get any major storms, they could be winter storms. So we want to stay tuned for that. I was predicting February would be our month where we got stronger winter storms. So we're going to continue to watch that. I'm meteorologist Mark Molnar. Like us on Facebook at MeteoMark. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Here's a 4-day forecast for my hometown viewers from Binghamton to Elmira and the northern tier counties of Pennsylvania.